Hey guys, it's SK Cloudy here, coming at you with the 3.13 Aura stacking guide. We played some marbles on stream to decide what build we wanted to play, and the marbles rolled Aura Stacker. So here's my take at Aura Stacker. Not all me, it's kind of based around my harvest skill tree, just slightly tweaked for the new nerfs of the Aura clusters and whatnot. So I do appreciate Diggs helping me out a little bit and kind of guiding me through the proper way to set this up. So first of all, Aura Stacker, what is it? Well, it's a build that uses multiple auras. You have crazy amount of buff effectiveness, and pretty much you're an aura bot, but you aura yourself. And generally you use lightning skills, can use fizz skills and convert it to lightning, and then all that gets converted into cold with Call of the Brotherhoods, and pretty much you attack really fast, and you can move around really fast with Leap Slam. And your damage and your mitigations are pretty good. Alright, so overall synopsis. It is not cheap to do an Aura Stacker. Not like it was in previous leagues where you could spend like 100x and it still feel good. I would say for Aura Stackers, because of the nerf on the Aura clusters from being 6% to 3%, it makes it very hard to reach a 400% Aura effectiveness cap. And so right now I have 415%, and as you see right now, I have 54 fizz mitigation, 90 all reses. If I drop 15%, I'm still at 400, right? I still have 54 fizz mitigation for Gucci. But let's say I drop additional 4. Once you drop below 400%, you lose it on 13 fizz mitigation, which is kind of a lot. And I would not recommend the build unless you get at least 400% aura effectiveness, because at the state of how low our ES is this league, now I could definitely probably push up to like 5k, maybe a little bit more if I change my setup a little bit, but it's fine. I'm not min-maxing this. Of course, if you want to min-max an Aura Stacker, you can always throw mirrors into it and you'll never ever be finished, essentially. So the way we have it set up now is back in Harvest League when I originally did this build, and we used, of course, voices. I used 5 passive clusters with 6 passive auras. Can't do that anymore. That's not the proper way. So the proper way to do it now is we're using 3 passive voices. Same as before, we use Purposeful Harbingers and First Amongst Equals. We ran 2 of those. So with these is aura buff from skills have 8% increased effect for each herald affecting you, up to 40%. Well, in our build we run 3 heralds like we did before. 3 heralds, that makes it 24% because we have 2 of them and you can only get a max of 40. Each of these are 20% aura effectiveness, which is pretty good for 3 heralds. After that, you just pretty much spam a bunch of replenishing presence and First Amongst Equals. As you can see, I have 5 nodes here, so with any extra skill points I had, I threw it in to the extra points for a little bit of extra aura effectiveness. The biggest change though compared to before is Glorious Vanities. There is 2228, which is the one I currently have, and there is also 7556. The 7556 one is pretty well known. It's like 7 points for 40% something aura effectiveness. This one's 9 points, and as you can see here, we got 5, 4, then we got 15, 15, and 12. So that's what, 30, 42, 47, and 51% for 9 points. So that's the current Glorious Vanity we're using. That gives us a lot of extra aura effectiveness, and then like I said, leftover points we just go ahead and throw into the rest of the auras. Now I don't technically need them in here, but I do need the attributes also, which is why I have them spec'd in. Everything else is your normal all RMR jewels. We don't run anger, so we have a jewel with fire damage while holding a shield and fizz damage, and multi with RMR, and that helps proc our Cinder Swallow. Gear wise, it's your usual. So we have the Nebulous, we have a +2 shield with Discipline. You can get +2 shield with Grace. I think with discipline, I can get away a little bit more with not having as much RMR problems. Amulet, of course, is just RMR, vitality, crit multi, etc. Helmet, we went with a hubris. There is the option for the socketed elements give exposure, and people put heralds in there, which it's nice for mapping, but this build still has over damage, which I feel like is not necessary, and in single target you'll never see anything like that actually proc, so we stick with the hubris. Mine can be rolled for a little bit better ES. We got our +4 shavs, Call of the Brotherhoods with skills on it. Boots, we go with elevated onslaught, tailwind, and projectiles, so we get 5 pierce with that elevated mod, which makes it so we don't have to run awaken fork in our spark. We have a headhunter. I just have Bisco skinned over it. And so something that's new about this league, it's currently a bug. It's most likely going to get patched very soon. But the Shaper mod, socketed spells have 90% crit multiplier. Well, when you put a zealotry in there, and it doesn't even have to be anomalous, it gives that so you and nearby allies have 90 crit multi. So here you see it says 2, but when I go down here and I hover over zealotry, it's giving me 92% crit multi. And I currently have 415% or effectiveness, so it's giving me over 360 crit multi. So as you can see here, if I go to offense, I have 653 crit multi, right? As soon as I go and turn that off, I drop down to 272. Now that's pretty big, pretty big. But don't get me wrong. Generally, we don't like the bug abuse, but we said why not? Let's just try it out. You still use Hands Out High Templar. Make sure you get a backup pair of those for when they do patch this. But these just give a lot of extra damage for free, and it's really cheap to make. You just elevate the crit multi and then Awakener Orbit with just the faster proj Elder mod, and the reason we do that is because more proj speed equals faster spooters. Faster spooters is more comfy, and yeah, that's why we do that. So we can go ahead and take a look at the POB. So POB right now, as you can tell in our Spark setup, we run Awaken Cold Pen, Energy Leech, Arcane Surge, Inspiration, and Spell Echo. Currently we have Val Righteous Fire off, also Val Haste off, and you can see our actual current damage is 64 mil. Burst damage, if we turn those on, we're at 114 mil burst. So pretty comfy DPS. Now my investment so far is about 3.5 mirrors, self-crafting everything. You may end up spending less, you may end up spending more. That'll completely depend on your RNG for crafting. The boots themselves, I got pretty unlucky and ended up spending about like 300x on them. Everything else I bought for fairly cheap. I know when I say cheap, you're like, wait, what? You spent 3.5 mirrors? Like I said, aura stacking is not one of those builds that you really want to cheap out on. Aura stack is one of those builds that gives you a goal and something to endlessly fuel with mirrors. And yeah, the only reason we made it is because Marbles decided so. So for flasks, we have Basalt. The reason why I'm using Basalt is because we move around with Leap Slam. And with Leap Slam, you move pretty fast, so I never have to worry about using Quicksilver. And the extra fizz mitigation is kind of nice. And then we also get an extra utility craft, so we get shock on this one. Of course, you got your Bottle of Faith, you got your Diamond Flask, you got your Cinder Swallow, and then you got your Aziri's Promise. Alright. For the Nebulous, we have Spell Double Damage. We can't afford Explodey. Explodey is nice for mapping, but I like consistency, and I don't ever like paying that much money into a weapon, especially when it's a unique. So we paid 29x for my Double Damage Nebulous, which is pretty nice still. We got the +2 socketed AoE gems with 23 Discipline. I paid 80x for this. Might have been a little cheap at the time. You can get it with Grace instead of Discipline, but that will kind of like alter your mana reservations. We got the Hubris, Zealotry mana reservation, we got multi, we got elemental damage, RMR, elevated elemental damage. So we get the 2% pen, we get the nearby enemies cold res, and we're gonna work on getting a little bit more ES on it. Plus 4 shavs. Talked about the gloves, how they're bugged. Currently using those. Like I said, hands of the High Templar with plus levels for auras and duration and level is perfectly fine as well. We got the boots, the amulet, call the brotherhoods, all that good stuff. All our jewels are pretty much energy shield and multi with RMR. All our medium clusters are pretty much first amongst equals with plenty of presences, and we have attributes on some of them because we are a little bit attribute starved. And yeah, it's pretty much, you know, nothing really different from the old aura stacker compared to the new aura stacker. Just slightly different with, like I said, the glorious vanity. Back to running heralds again. And this jewel here, this is the bugged gloves jewels. It is currently giving me exactly 375 crit multi with my current setup. So let's say full burst, we go from 114 mil, and let's say we put on, we'll go ahead and stock it in my budget. So I paid only 30x for these. These were 30x temporary gloves. So if we put these in, just slap them in, don't change anything, we go from 110 mil to 58 mil. That's a pretty big damage difference, right? And it'd be a little bit more because I would swap out probably zealotry with something else like haste, for example. Put haste in the gloves for a little bit better cast speed. But yeah, you do lose a bit of damage, but still, we had no problems killing 2-man mavens and all that without the bug gloves. Bug gloves just make it so much faster. So that's the POB, which I will be linking in the YouTube video below. I guess a lot of you have been recommending some gameplay because I haven't really been doing much gameplay on my builds, on my guides. So we got a Maven's Writ set up. We'll go ahead and do a Writ real quick. So currently now with Spark, I have sounds disabled because having sounds on make it really laggy.
I have nothing more to give.
So as usual, you just smite the boss and then just let your spiders do the damage.
Pain will be returned tenfold.
Same thing with Feards. Feards are a joke. I just stand in the middle and spam everything. I mean, the build is like it was before, just not as tanky and not as much damage, but it still is super laid back, super laid back gameplay. Now for 3.5 mirrors, you know, you can always spend a mirror to 2 mirrors into a mom miner, and it'll be just as good. It'll kill just as fast. It's essentially just as tanky too, but if you like and want a build where you can spend a crap ton of money in, this is definitely one of those builds. Because, you know, RMR clusters, you can get a bunch of those. Good double, triple crit multi ES jewels, stuff like that. Like it's endless amounts of money you can spend into this build. And for people, you know, this build is not for, like, you know, people who only play like 4 hours a day. Unless you're flipping 4 hours a day, then you could be making a crap ton of money. But this is like for those people that make multiple mirrors a league and, you know, want to have like a project they can spend their money on, because, you know, RMT is bad, guys. There's no point in RMT. Have fun. It's pixels.
Reality bends.
So yeah, as you guys can see, very simple fights. Not really paying attention much. Not using flasks. Missing out on a bunch of crit multi. So we're just going.
Death will not be an escape.
Do not mind, like the Mom Miner or any build that uses RF, do not touch the beams. The beams are death when you run RF, because you just constantly degen, and it's the scariest thing ever. And you know, aura stackers, you die on the aura stack, you generally don't want to have to turn on all your auras. So yeah, we pop flasks and now it's dead. Oh,
The living toy must
I hope
enjoy
that
our
loot filter is
contests,
not
for it
POS on
continues
YouTube.
play.
But
You-
I did get the sound clip for YouTube. So, but we got a Maven's So yeah, guys, that's the Aura Stacker. Small tips and tricks here. Let's just say I turned off, let's say you die, right? And all our auras turn off. A lot of people, a lot of streamers, and just people in general, I see a lot of them turning on auras one by one, and it triggers me. So what you do is you go over here, you have an offhand weapon, you put every single aura you can see, and pretty much you put it on your control bar. I put it to shift because I like shift more comfortable. And so pretty much you turn all those on and make sure to see if you have any other auras that you could potentially turn on. Nope. All right, now you weapon swap. Now we do the same thing here. So it's just a matter of doing that, and that's how you turn on 16 auras. And once you get used to it, because muscle memory, you turn on all 16 auras in a matter of a second. So please, guys, when playing Aura Stacker, please do your weapon swaps. Don't sit there and spend a minute turning on your auras, because that's not efficient. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's it for the guide. Any questions, just leave in the YouTube comments. I'm trying my best to check on them. I'm new into the YouTube scene, so I'm not really used to always constantly checking on YouTube comments and stuff like that. I know y'all help each other out. I appreciate all the love and support from my past videos, especially the MFing one. I saw that one blew up, so I appreciate that very, 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 very much. But yeah, just leave a comment in the YouTube comment selection. Check me out on live stream at twitch.tv/skcloudy. All that will be in the video description, and I'll see you guys on the next YouTube video.